Oraloo, chieftain of the Badlands. The ever-brilliant Gold Mask. Fear, the deathbed companion. The loathsome dung-eater. And Sir Gideon Ofnir, the all-knowing.
And Meckles the Weenie. So I feel like I gotta start this off by saying that I don't play hard games. I'm not that type of person. I'm the type of guy that plays Deathloop on the baby mode where you just have like infinite lives and so there's no actual stakes. I was the type of kid that would play PlayStation 1 games with Game Sharks and cheat codes on if those were available. I did not like challenges. I did not like games that would punish me for performing poorly because I played the games to relax, to just have a good time. I didn't want a game that was gonna punch me in the dick for not doing well enough. And that's mostly continued into my adulthood. I don't really play games on any difficulty higher than normal or whatever it's set to by default because I'm not somebody that cares about the whole, like, oh, it's the challenge, you gotta kill the biggest guy, gotta have the biggest dick. I don't really care. So, like, by extension of that sort of philosophy, when the Dark Souls games came out and everyone was raving about them, they were fantasy, they were very much my jam, at least aesthetically, I tried them, and I didn't really find myself enjoying them. I thought the combat and the atmosphere was was a lot of fun. It was very well presented. The weapons had a lot of weight to them. I wanted to like them. The problem was I was really, really bad at them. I couldn't get through Dark Souls 3 without being carried by a bunch of my friends, and I was bad. And with kind of the culture around those games, you had the whole get good sort of things, that sort of mentality that was very prevalent within the games and within the community. That, especially with the whole invasion feature, I hated that. But yeah, needless to say, I was not a big fan of most of FromSoft's games. I tried Dark Souls, I tried Bloodborne, and while I initially did enjoy those titles, all of those issues, like just not being good at them, the whole like invasions thing, it just all kind of accumulated into me being upset, I guess, that they weren't what I actually wanted them to be, and so that kind of turned into me becoming this hardcore anti-FromSoft advocate, where I was just like, no, they make shitty games that are too hard for no reason. So fast forward a little bit, and Elden Ring comes out. It's the most approachable Souls game. It's getting rave reviews, 10 out of 10. It's God's gift to man. Like Jesus himself came down from heaven and just gave me a Zaki little kiss on the lips. So I buy it, not immediately. I wait until the price drops and I get it used, because if I think I'm going to hate the game, why would I spend a lot of money on it? And so I boot up the game and I'm having a good time just exploring, this pretty environment. There's a couple basic skeletons in the tutorial area that I killed off, and then it opens up into this vast, just wide field for me to explore. And as I'm exploring, I slowly move down a set of stone stairs, only for a green man to show up and twist my nipples off and steal my lunch money. But as he rode away, I felt something a little bit different than I did with the previous, Soulsborne games. I don't have to fight that guy. There's a whole bunch of stuff out there for me to explore, and I can do that before I gotta kick this guy's butt, or more precisely, he kicks my butt 17 more times. And so that's what I do. I fuck off. I wander around. I fight smaller enemies. I collect weapons, armor, runes. I grow in power. I get strong.
And when I come back to that motherfucker, I rip his nipples right off. I lean in over his corpse, and I whisper, God has a name. It's not Queen America. It's Beckles.
So a bit of a side note, but I grew up playing Castlevania, specifically Symphony of the Night and the DS titles that, they were all about like collecting items, finding new types of weapons that you liked, exploring the castle kind of on your own terms. There was a lot of backtracking, a lot of grinding, and enemies that were pretty much guaranteed to drop cool weapons and armor. And Elden Ring, in the same way that what I did like about Dark Souls 3 did, it kind of brings me back to that Symphony of the Night feeling. But I think Elden Ring does it better because it's so open. I can, I don't have to go fight this boss. I can just fuck off. I can go elsewhere and I can grind for better weapon, grind for levels. Like Elden Ring, where I think the Dark Souls games kind of failed for me, Elden Ring really feels like if they were to take Symphony of the Night and be like, okay, but what if this was an action RPG instead? And it does that so well. The big fights, like the big boss fights in Elden Ring, they never feel insurmountable. It's just this feeling of I'm not good enough or I'm not strong enough yet. And I love that it's both of those feelings, because to someone like me, there is the option to step back, to train, and to come back when I am stronger, when I have better stats. And while I'm like grinding while I'm fighting the same group of enemies like over and over for runes, I can feel myself actually getting better at the game's combat. I can feel myself like, okay, I know when to block, I know when to dodge, and even though I'm fighting the same group of enemies, those skills still translate to bigger enemies. So when I go fight a guy who used to completely kick my ass,
Who's the bitch now, you little fucker, as you beat them into the fucking ground?
and the game does a really good job of choreographing the combat. Like, the enemies don't really feel cheap in this game. They don't usually feel like they have moves that, come off so quickly that there's no way that you could possibly dodge it. Even during boss fights, when I fuck up, I can usually see exactly where I made that mistake and what I need to do to be successful next time. Editor's note here, I realized that I treated it like the invasions in Elden Ring are not opt-in. I realize now that they are. I didn't even engage with it at all. I just started from the get-go playing offline because it wasn't something I wanted to deal with, so I wasn't aware of the mechanics of how it worked. So apologies for that misunderstanding in this next bit, but I still thought the joke was funny, so I'm going to keep it in. Thanks. I'm just really glad that they removed the invasion feature from the game. They they didn't. It's still in there. It's just like, imagine if you were playing Mario and you were halfway through a level and someone else as Wario invades the game. Look at me go, jumping, all doing flips. I'm flipping all.
Yes. That's what I always want. Yes! 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 Oh my god!
Apologies, I get a little heated on that particular topic. To backtrack just a little bit real quickly, I mentioned Dark Souls 3 earlier and that I couldn't beat that game without being carried by a bunch of friends. And I'm kind of realizing now that I'm a decent way into Elden Ring, that might have actually ruined the experience for me a bit, because it didn't give me the chance to actually like get better at the game. Like, in a weird way, I feel like most games these days, there is a level of skill that is needed to continue through the game, but I don't know, with like Elden Ring and I guess the Dark Souls games by extension, it feels like that's a feature. Like that is just a absolutely essential part of playing the game, and to take that away by being carried through the game is maybe very detrimental to the experience. Something else that's detrimental to experiences is high prices when you're shopping. And that's why I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Slappies Markets. Again, they sent me a tape. Not really sure why all my sponsors keep sending me tapes. It feels a little old school, but either way, I'm gonna play it for you, and thanks so much to Slappies Markets for sponsoring the video.
Well, hey there, customer. It's no doubt that your friends have told you about how over at Slappies, we absolutely slap the competitors' prices. At our markets, you'll find only the best, and compared to those conventional big box stores, you'll save up to $10 for every 100 that you spend. And the best part is, you don't have to sacrifice quality. Over 100 of the top brands to choose from cereal to seafood. We've got it all. Low prices and weekly specials. What's not to love? Come on, tell me. And for our meat lovers, at all Slappies deli counters, you'll find only the top cutter grade beef, the most satisfactory, tender, slappable beef that your money can buy. Guaranteed. Don't believe us? Just listen to what these customers have to say.
Meat. Where's Jim?
I just love Slappies Market.
So slap on down over to Slappies Markets. We can't wait for you. Come on down. Come on down.
So lastly, I do want to talk about the lore a little bit, and like the atmosphere and the world building that Elden Ring has. The Souls games are kind of like, they're kind of infamous, I guess, for presenting their lore in a way that is not immediately obvious, that it's like most of the lore is not, it's not just presented to you as a player. You have to find it in like item descriptions or in, parsing out the dialogue in cutscenes.
Geoffrey. His soul, his being, lies on the island still. His body swung in a cell, tethered. But it was not he that did it to brave Tarnished.
At first, I really thought I was going to hate it being presented that way. But it did actually, like, as I got further in the game and I got a bit more invested in, like, okay, so what's this guy's story? What's the, this cool location? What's its deal? It did prompt me to, like, look into some YouTube videos and, learn about it. So, while I personally would still prefer more of a straightforward story, I do respect what I think they were going for with, bringing that sense of discovery into like the real world. You are just dropped into this world, and if you want to know what the grander story that's going on is, not just immediately what you're dealing with, you got to do some digging. Basically, I guess to kind of end cap, Elden Ring has been a very interesting experience for me so far. I'm not done with it. I haven't beaten it. So no spoilers, please. What I like about what Elden Ring does, from the perspective of somebody who does not usually enjoy those type of games, I like that it is so open. Like, I've compared it to Symphony of the Night before, and again, it has that feeling of like, oh, there's always new items to find. There's always new places to explore. There's always multiple routes to deal with the problems at hand. And because it offers these things, the challenge that it offers doesn't feel as insurmountable as previous Souls games. It feels like I do have the opportunity to go back and, prepare myself. And it's a really strange feeling to actually enjoy that challenge because usually that's something that just, you know, a game kicks my ass and I'm like, well, clearly this game doesn't want me to play it, and I stop playing it. But this game feels like it's not doing that. It feels like it's going, hey buddy, that was tough. Why don't you get up, you know, go beat up some little dudes and come back in a bit when you're ready. And I don't know, that's just, there's something about that I really like. It has a draw to me. And maybe that's just a me thing. Maybe that's just personal. I don't know. But to anyone who got this far, you know, thanks for watching this video. I didn't really script this one. I kind of wanted to try my hand at just making some bullet points and sort of talking about something. So this one's probably kind of rambly. You know, I apologize for that. I'm not a very succinctly spoken person, so I'll probably stick to doing scripts in the future. But, you know, I wanted to try it out, and I really appreciate if you got this far, and there I go repeating myself again. Also, subscribe or I'll twist your nipples off and steal your lunch money. With the subscriber threat out of the way, the one last thing is it's poop. Reading is hard. Fan art corner. Here's a picture. Somebody drew it. It's my husband. I love him. He did a good job.